O he Vaishnava Thakura, Dayara Sagara, Eda se Koruna Kori. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyat Desha Tarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. We would like to welcome today our dear friend, His Grace Anand Prabhu. In this particular session, he has very humbly accepted this request to have this one-on-one with us today. So welcome, Anand Prabhuji. And as usually everybody asks a normal interview question, I'll begin with the same question. Prabhuji, tell us something about yourself.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for welcoming me, and thank you for having me on this session. I'm very grateful to be here, and all my pranams to Anand Prabhu for letting me speak here, and all the Vaishnavas and my Guru Maharaj and Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So there is actually nothing to tell about myself. I'm a very fallen soul, but since you've requested, I will tell a little bit. So I come from a little town in India called Chandigarh, Punjab, and now I'm settled in UK, Manchester. My upbringing has been in India itself as a normal Indian kid in 90s. I have never been in touch with Krishna consciousness or anything like that. I was just studying in my own little world, on according to my parents and whatever they wanted me to do. And I studied in Sector 8 at DAV Public School. That's where I did my up till 10th class, and then I moved on to 12th, and then I started my graduation. It's a little hidden fact about myself. I started my graduation from Punjab University, but soon I realized it wasn't for me, so I dropped out. I'm a college dropped out. But then I got this opportunity to come to the UK and experience the life in the West. And as a normal Indian kid, it was never my dream actually to come here and settle here, and I will eventually meet my wife and whatnot. It was never the part of the plan. It was just that I don't have any opportunity in India. And to be honest, I was fed up with Indian education system altogether. They were being very partial and very harsh, I would say. But it's okay. I guess it was a greater plan of the Lord. And then I started studying in Manchester here. I did BSc Honours in Hospitality Management, and I spent 5 years there in Manchester University. And then that's where the magic happened, and I met devotees, and I guess that's the further story. But yeah, that's a little about myself.
Thank you very much. You said that you were born and brought up in Chandigarh and had a little bit of Indian background. I would like to know that did this background somehow inspire you or help you towards Krishna consciousness?
I would say yes. Indeed, a lot of it was because of my roots in India and what I learned when I was a little kid. And I guess there was always an inclination towards Krishna and towards Krishna consciousness. And and also my I guess my mother has a greater part that she unconsciously gave to me. And I still remember when I was like in year seventh class or eighth class.
Mm-hmm.
In summer holidays, my mum would used to recite from Ramcharitmanas, and we used to
Uh-huh.
listen to Ramkatha, Ramayana a lot.
Uh-huh.
And we used to watch on DD National. I don't know if that's
Uh-huh.
Doordarshan. We used to watch Mahabharat a lot. And
Uh-huh.
in my school, actually, there was this shloka recitation classes
Uh-huh.
called something called Aristamaj, and
Uh-huh.
there the teachers used to really, um, like nail us down on what do you call it, all the shastra, but very diluted way, and very non-Krishna conscious way, and very again samskar point of view that a person would follow. But it helped. It helped a lot, and yeah. And I would also say that because when you're born in India and when you're in 90s, you're forced to follow something. And I would say that it's actually Lord Shiva's mercy that I'm here today. I must
Uh-huh.
say, and it's because of totally his blessings. Because any Punjabi Indian kid would follow Lord Shiva. That would be his hero. And same goes with me. I still remember I used to offer a banana and a packet of milk every day.
Uh-huh.
For God knows how many years I've done that, and it's all because of my mother again. She forced me to go to temple every day at 4 o'clock. I would go on bike, cycle half an hour away, and offer to Shiva Linga, and maybe Lord Shiva thought that I'm credible enough to chant the names of the Lord in this lifetime, and maybe not. I'm not.
It's really a great thing you said, Anand Prabhu, because even I get this inspiration from these words. When we are practicing Krishna consciousness and we are preaching Krishna consciousness, somehow or other we tend to offend the demigods. But when you say these beautiful words, it really encourages us to understand that yes, we do follow Krishna consciousness. We do completely worship Krishna, but at the same time we are also paying our humble obeisances to the demigods, and we are always respecting them in every stage of our life. So that's really
Yeah,
wonderful
I mean,
life
another
experience.
point, another point I would like to make is, without the blessings of Param Vaishnavas and your
Yeah,
father and mother, you will not be anywhere in life. You have
yeah,
to make sure either you're a devotee or a non-devotee or whoever you are. But it's very important to get the blessings of your ancestors, and
uh-huh.
blessings, and and all the mercy that you can actually acquire from your teachers or your gurus or whoever you meet in life is very, very important. Otherwise, I don't think you'll be pleasing a lot of people long ago.
Thank you very much, Anand Prabhu. With this, I would like to ask you another question. I've known you since the past probably 4 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
Forgot the count.
Three,
But
four.
of course, as you said, that we need to have the blessings of our parents also. Sometimes what happens in Krishna consciousness, that because of this preaching that we are this body, we are not this body, we are the soul, and we should forget our relationships that come through this body. But at the same time, you have said that we should respect the blessings that we get from our ancestors, and that is a prime requirement. I would like you to please elaborate this a little bit more, because I've also known that your mother is also practicing Krishna consciousness, and nonetheless that she's a very senior devotee herself. So I would request you to please explain more about this, about the experiences of your mother also, and like how you connect those blessings to Krishna consciousness.
Sure. Um, yes, although we practice that we are not this body, we are this soul, and all that, but we have to make sure that this package comes with a lot of baggage as well. So there
Uh-huh,
has been a lot of baggage in past lives that we have spent. So the
uh-huh,
soul has been traveling from years to years to years, from lifetimes to yugas and whatnot. So we have to be acceptable of the fact that we are Vaishnavas in this life, but we have a lot of karma from the last life. So yes, we do practice, and Bhagavad Gita, it tells that you're not this body, you're the soul, yes, we are a Jivatma. Yes, of course we are. But at the same time, like I said, that we have a lot of karma that we have to deal with. And if you're offending our ancestors, our parents, and demigods, and other demigods, or the planet rulers, and all that, then without their blessings, we will not be able to get much far. There are a lot of examples of Srimad Bhagavatam that we have already seen and already heard about, where devotees themselves have offended a lot of other Vaishnavas. And for example, biggest example I would like to give is Prahlad Maharaj. His dad was a Asura, right? And even then, he was praying to the Lord that please bless him and please forgive him. So if Prahlad Maharaj can do that, I'm sure we can do that too. I mean, yeah, that's one of the main important things I would like to say, that I tend to follow, and that's my principle, that you don't know who they are, or you don't know what they are, and it's better to be humble and be a bit compassionate about for them, even though, like for example, um, my brother he doesn't practice Krishna consciousness much, but somehow or other he still helped me big time in Krishna consciousness. So now he's not following. Doesn't mean that I'm like, okay, I'm not going to speak to you. You know who you are. Oh my God, you're not devotee. I'm not allowed to speak to you. And it's not what Prabhupada has taught us. Srila Prabhupada has always given that compassion towards everyone. So maybe if we can just put a little bit into our lives, it's very important. And be compassionate, because you've got a bigger knowledge, and Krishna consciousness being the highest platform that we practice. So in bhakti, it's very important that we are compassionate towards everyone, and just be patient, and that will help us to build our good bank account, good karma. And we're not doing it just because we want to build up that, but we're doing it because that's the way forward. If it's like every action has its reaction. So if I was to go around and speak harshly to anyone on the street, or even to my parents, I don't think I'll be able to go that far. Naturally, my parents will be unhappy with me, or my brother will be unhappy with me, and slowly I will cut off those relationships that I have in my life. And then eventually there'll be a point I'll be just alone. I'll be unhappy because the balance has been ruined. So it's very important, even if you're a practitioner of bhakti or non-bhakti or whoever you are, I think it's very important to get those blessings. And that's, talking about my mother, like you asked, yes, she is a very senior Vaishnava, and she has been practicing very sincerely. And she's doing a great service, and she's reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day. She's chanting very sincerely, and she is one of the reasons I'm in here today. And we inspire each other, although she's not physically present here. But when I speak to her on the phone, the main discussion of us between me and her would be just literally, okay, I heard this in Maharaj's lecture. What do you think of this? Or she will ask me some questions. Oh, I've got this doubt. Someone asked me this. What should I say to them? So it's just literally clarifying and bouncing off each other's energy. And because of the times that we are in right now, we can't physically meet. And I haven't seen her in 2 years. So that's how we really just connect. And, and I'll help her however I can. And even just yesterday, I've been listening to Gajendra Moksh of Guru Maharaj, and then and I was telling her that, oh, you should remember, you should know the verses by heart, because that's what Guru Maharaj recommended. That if you chant that all the stuti every day, Gajendra Stuti, it really helps you materially as well as it helps you with blessings and blessings of Lord Brahma and other demigods, and especially the lordships. So it really helps you in your material life and non-material life. So why not? So she got very inspired. She said, "Okay, send me over the PDF. I'll remember." And then she started asking more questions. It was a very nice discussion, So that it was very nice, an hour that I spent with her. I didn't even realize I've always been an hour. So yeah, that's the answer.
Of course, I do remember this also from one of the lectures, that Dhruva Maharaj was known as Matru Bhakta Shiromani, means of all of those personalities who are also the wonderful devotees of their mothers, of all of them, also Dhruva Maharaj was considered to be the topmost gem. And Dhruva Maharaj is a person who has already taken darshan of the Supreme Lord, and
Hmm.
still he has been given this particular adjective. This very wonderfully simplifies us that how our relationships with our bodily connection should be, and at the same time practicing Krishna consciousness. So thank you very much for that, Ru. With this particular turnout, would like to ask you another legendary question. We
Okay.
everybody ask in Krishna consciousness that how did you come to the movement?
Oh dear. Uh, um, this let me jog my memory. It's 2021, about 7, 8 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Um, my brother, he was in US at that time, and he must have come across devotees, and he was lonely there. He was quite lonely, and naturally, when you're lonely, you either go the drinking way or you either go the bhakti way. Especially when you're
Yeah.
in West, there's a lot of distractions as it is anyway. And luckily, he went the Krishna conscious way. He met some devotees, and they invited
Uh-huh.
him to the house. So he went to few houses, few house programs in Maryland, Baltimore, and he met the congregation, and he must have, obviously preached to him. And I remember I was quite young. I was still in uni, and he used to we used to call, like, every other day or weekly or whatever. And he used to say, "Oh, you should surrender to Krishna, or you should whatever you do, make sure you remember Krishna." And I was like, "What's happened to him? What is wrong with him? Why is he saying, dharmic kyun ban gaye? Okay, like what's happened to him? Why is he all of a sudden,
Mhm.
changed his path, and he's telling me all about the Lord?" And I was like, God, whatever I heard, I was like, okay, he's my elder brother, and I have to be respectful towards him. I cannot. And I mean, since the beginning of the time, our relationship has been like this. That he's been my role model, and whatever he does, I'll follow him, kind of thing. And anyway, then I was like, okay. And then he told me the mantra on the phone. He's like, you should chant this. I was like, what the freak? What is going on? I'm like, okay, fine. I chanted, you know, although I was working in very material sort of business, and I was literally doing things I should be doing. But I didn't know. I was innocent, I guess. I was not innocent. I
Mhm.
would say I was uneducated. I was not very materially and not bhakti sharp. So anyway, and then I was just chanting here and there when I was doing, okay, my brother has told me to chant this. I was chanting, and then eventually it came to the point where he was going to India, but he's like, you know what, I'll stop by in Manchester and I'll meet you. And I was like, ooh, okay. And at that point, I haven't seen him in what, in 6 years or 5 years, something like that. And then we were meeting after such a long time, and he stopped by for a week, and then he gave me what everyone dreads is Bhagavad Gita, as it is. And then he gave me Bhagavad Gita, and he was like, "Make sure you read it; it'll change your life." And I was like, "Oh dear God, what will this book do to me?" I kind of challenged. I didn't know what I was getting into, and then that's it. It was like a silent slap on my face. There you are.
Uh-huh.
And then I think it was chapter 4 that I was reading, and where Bhagwan is telling Arjuna that what I accept to offer in offering, and what do I not accept, and these are the rules, and how you should not eat meat. And I was like, oh my God, this is the answer that I've been looking for all of my life.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't believe that I was reading in a religious book. Because my mother she was a vegetarian all of her life, and me being Punjabi and ignorant, and she always used to say, "Oh, follow vegetarianism." I was like, "You shouldn't eat meat," and I'm like, "Whatever. Like, give me a reason, I'll." And she would say, "You should have compassion and love towards animal." And I'm like, "Whatever. She's eating it, I'm eating it. Sheep philosophy." Anyway, and so the very next day, I decided not to eat meat, give up meat straight away, and then I stopped. I mean, Krishna willing, because of my granddad, my willpower and my discipline has been always been very on point. because he was in army and he trained us that way when we were kids. Like, if it's no, then it's no. Portion control, you shouldn't eat this, shouldn't eat that. Table etiquettes, manners, army rules, I guess. And but anyway, that helped us. That helped me a lot, even now. Keeping in, our bhakti and self motivation and whatnot, it really helps you to, to shape up who you are. Anyway, and then I kept reading. I finished the book. By the end of it, I was chanting 8 rounds, and then I like, you know what? I've got so much time. Why am I not chanting 16? That's it. I started chanting 16 straight away, and
Awesome.
yeah, I was so fired up. And then eventually, I remember one of my friends, he was doing his master, and I told him, "Oh, listen, I'm vegetarian." I was like, "Oh my god, finally you've listened to me." I was like, "Not you, but I've read Bhagavad Gita." He's like, "Oh, you read Bhagavad Gita, even better." Then he preached me, and he helped me to answer a lot of questions that I had. I guess every new person, neophyte has those questions. So he helped me, and he was like, "You know what? You should go to ISKCON." I was like, "Oh dear, okay, fine, we'll go to ISKCON." And then we went to temple, the local temple, Manchester, and then we went to Sunday feast. And anyway, we ate prashadam, we came back. It was very nice. And then a few days later, I saw devotees on the street chanting, and I was like, "Oh, I guess this is the start of the journey then." I'm going to be one of those wearing the bed sheet around and, roaming around in town. And yeah, and then I just kept going to the temple every weekend. And then here I am. God, I'm stuck in it now.
That's very inspiring story that we have just heard from you. Thank you very much for that, Prabhuji. And 8 years of Krishna consciousness that you have already been practicing, from the day when you got this spark, do you feel that this spark is still alive? And what kind of struggles do you see when you're practicing Krishna consciousness? And how do you manage to keep that spark alive within yourself since this past 8 years?
Wow. So I don't know where to start. I mean, being in this body is a struggle itself. Just waking up from bed is a struggle. Just everything is a struggle in this material world. But I guess what keeps me going is that I didn't get Krishna consciousness spoon-fed to me from day one. I had to do a lot of, tapasya or sacrifice. So that sacrifice is what keeps us going. It's a promise to yourself and to the Lord, not even to yourself, no one anyway, but it's a promise to the Lord that you made. And it's a Paramatma within your heart that inspires you to keep it going. Obviously, your who you are as a general, rule goes as well. How's your habits in day-to-day life really helps you to shape up who you are and what kind of devotee you're going to be made. And then obviously when we got initiated, the promise toward your spiritual master. And I think there's when you understand and when you read the scriptures, there's a natural, I guess, a gratitude towards Srila Prabhupada, and we owe it to him. And after reading his biography, what he has done for the movement, not even to the movement, to the whole world, we owe it to him, I guess. And that's another thing that inspires me every day. And obviously listening to his little clips on Instagram or Facebook or even listening to our spiritual master every day, it's just inspiring. And the more we hear, the more we kind of get that motivation. And my source of motivation is just, talking to devotees every day. And then even if it's, maybe 5 minutes, and keeping in constant association. I mean, I'm lucky enough that Krishna has given me very strong devotees around me, even though we meet every day. And I mean, yesterday I was with someone for 14 hours and, we were working together. So half of our conversations are, okay, this is what we practice in our center. And that guy is actually inspiring to become a brahmachari. So it really helps me. So, his practices keeps me alive kind of thing. And the Lord has been very merciful since then on me, that he constantly sends, his little pawns, I would say, and his army from somewhere, and then it just keeps me on track. But main thing
Mm-hmm.
is promises with your Paramatma and with your spiritual master, and what we owe to Srila Prabhupada for all the hard work that he has done. And honestly, what he has done, we are not doing,
Of
point
course.
point point 1% of that. So yeah, I mean that's my main source, I would say.
That's very inspiring to hear. Association of the devotees continuously listening to wonderful lectures and being grateful towards Srila Prabhupada. 3 points that you said that really stuck me around here, that yes, we should be very, very grateful to Srila Prabhupada for at the age of 70s taking such great hardships just for the sake of delivering people like us.
Indeed, yeah. If he wasn't
It's
for us,
really,
then exactly. If
of
it wasn't
course,
for him, then there would be no ISKCON Manchester. There would be
of
no
course.
anything, I guess.
And probably we would not have connected today.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you were in Germany. I was in Vrindavan at that time, and then you came, and it's crazy.
Really crazy. Rudy, in this particular talk, you just said something that you have made some promises towards your spiritual master. I would like to know that how did you know who is your spiritual master? What was your journey towards initiation? And I know that you're already a second initiated, great personality. How was your journey towards second initiation? Would like to know some things about that too.
Um, I guess I owe it to my dear God brother for that. And I'm very lucky that he met me at that time when I was very confused about initiation and what Diksha is or what spiritual master is. His Grace Prasundar Prabhu. And I remember it was 2014, 2015 when I met him in summers. He came to the UK and to look after a devotee who is not well, very senior Vaishnava. And that inspired me. I was like, wow, he's left everything behind and he's came all the way just to, look after someone. That is inspiring. And then I remember I was just casually sitting in temple room and just taking prasadam, and he came and I was like, oh, he's a guest, let me kind of make my connection with him. And then I knew he was from Mumbai. I heard, and then I just spoke in Hindi straight. I was like, Prabhuji, I want to take Diksha, but I don't know who to take from. And he didn't mention Guru Maharaj's name at all. He didn't say anything. He didn't push me towards him. He was like, okay, who do you aspire for? And I was like, what? What do you mean by aspire for? Uh, do we not choose who we want? He was like, no, it doesn't work like this. So he really kindly explained the whole process very patiently, and we became very good friends since then. And and then he went back to India, and then I remember in 2016 I went to India. Early 2016, I was in India for a year, and then at that time he was like, okay, Anand, Akash, you have to come and see me in Vrindavan, or why don't you go to my flat in Vrindavan and stay there for 10 days? And I'm like, what am I supposed to do there? Like, I don't know anyone, and you're asking me to go to Vrindavan. When you're in West, and then you've never been to a holy place, all you really imagine Vrindavan to be a little village, and very rural, and all this changed now. It used to be like that. So I was like, I was actually scared to go to Vrindavan. I was like, I don't know, I don't want to go to Vrindavan. He was like, no, you have to. If you're my friend, then you have to. I was like, okay, whatever. Anyway, I went to Vrindavan, and then luckily, um, His Holiness Bhakti Dir Damodar Maharaj was there too,
Mhm.
and it's all his mercy and blessing that I'm here, and I owe it to him big time. And then I remember when we were in England, he introduced us to Maharaj, and he was actually inspiring me to take initiation from him. And I was there for good 20 days. I was very fortunate, very, very fortunate. And we traveled a lot at that time. But the best thing was that I got association and blessings of Bhakti Damodar Maharaj. And then Maharaj really helped me, and I spent a lot of time with him. And I think at that time I realized that, okay, I don't feel connected. It was like Paramatma was indicating that it will be an offense almost to surrender to someone who I don't really see as a figure of authority in my life. And then I told Prabhu, I was like, Prabhu, I don't want to offend Maharaj, but I don't really see him as my spiritual master. He's like, okay, that's fine, that's not a problem. And but he didn't tell Maharaj straight away at that time. I remember few months later, um, Guru Maharaj was speaking in Haridwar, and Prashant Prabhu was like, "No, you have to come to Haridwar. You haven't seen me in a long time. Let's meet there." And I was like, I'm in work, all those reasons that everyone makes. I can't. Sorry, I can't. He's like, okay, if you don't come, don't speak to me ever again. And I was like, oh dear God, he's blackmailing me. Anyway,
Mhm.
I I went there and I spent a week there, and I guess it was the most blissful week that I've ever spent in anywhere. And I remember that my dad was in a bit of it was a bit of anxiety, and he had few troubles, family troubles, and all the way there, Haridwar, we were just discussing that, and my dad was in a lot of pain, like mental pain. And then he was like, family like this, and I had few questions and doubts, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, family is like this, that's true. Anyway, I went to Maharaj's lecture, and he was. I remember he because of his physical condition, he is not able to walk because of his paralysis, and I saw him entering the hall with the help of devotees, and he was holding on to people, and he was walking very slowly. It took him good 10-15 minutes just to arrive on Vyasasan, and devotees were chanting Gopi Geet, and that is one of his favorite prayers. And one devotee was chanting very nicely, and crowd was roaring. And that 10 to 15 minutes when I saw him, it felt like second. It felt like, wow, he was not limping or he wasn't struggling. He was floating slowly. And when I saw him through the crowd, and then I saw him crying, and to the extent where he was crying like a little baby. And I was like, I kept asking Prasad, why is he crying? What is happening? Why is he crying? And he was like, just wait, just be in the moment. But that was bugging me. I was like, why is he crying like that? And then finally Maharaj came and sat on Vyasasan. And I remember I was very lucky because of Prasad Prabhu that I didn't really, I wasn't that far from the stage. I was very near. And in that lecture, 45 minutes went by, and within 15, 20 minutes into the lecture, something happened within my heart. And I was like, this is it. I can die for that guy. I can do anything, whatever he says, I can do it. No problem. And then I was like, it just something just spoke out very loud, although it was no one heard it, but it was very loud that he's your spiritual master. And then straight after the lecture, in between that lecture, Maharaj sort of clarified all the doubts I had, whatever the doubts I was having in the car when I was traveling there. It just vanished away. I all of a sudden, after 45 minutes to an hour, I just had a very clear vision. And I was like, wow, this is the potency of a pure devotee. Although he doesn't know me, I don't know him well, but yet we are connected in a very weird way. I don't know, it was just really strange. And straight after that, I I went outside to see off Maharaj, and I paid him my obeisances, and he was going off in the car, and I started running towards the car while he was pulling away, and I was like, "What am I doing? Why am I running towards him when he was going away?" Anyway, and then I don't know. It was kind of emotional at that time, and then I met with Prashant Prabhu again, and he was like, "Yes. So what happened? Why? What's your bottom line? Do you still think that it's worth coming here?" And I was like, "Oh my God, what are you talking about? Thank you, thank you for making me come here." And I was like, "Prabhu, I think I have your answer. I want to surrender to Maharaj, and I want to accept him, my Guru Maharaj." And he was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, I cannot be more sure about anything else in my life but him."
Yeah.
So it was crazy. And he was like, "Okay, we need to tell Bhakti Damodar Maharaj." And I was like, "He's not going to be happy with this." He was like, "Let's see." He knew what he was going to say, but he was putting me in a bit of anxiety that, "Oh, you might have offended a senior Vaishnava." And then when we told Bhakti Damodar Maharaj, rather than getting offended, he was like, he treats Maharaj as his Guru Maharaj as well, where he takes instructions from. He was like, "Oh, you want to send it to Guru Maharaj? Go ahead. You have my blessing." And I was like, "Oh my God, what has just happened
Yeah.
now?" He gave his blessing, and he was like, "Prasanta Prabhu, help him to get initiation, however this may be possible." And I was like, "Wow, okay, I wasn't not expecting that." And then then I felt a lot of respect towards him, and I always sort of miss the time that we spent with him in Vrindavan. And he was so merciful. He lived. He displayed a very austere life almost. He inspires me so much that he's got such a pure heart, and he's got such a pure intention, and he's doing so much for the movement, so much for Srila Prabhupada. It's just incredible. It's an inspiration. Um, and then then Prasanta Prabhu helped me. There were a lot of hurdles, but we got there at the end. And then me and my mother, we took initiation together in front of Radha Shyam Sundar, and that's when Maharaj made us promise. So you have to chant 16 rounds every day. You have to, on Ekadashis, you have to chant 25 rounds every day, every Ekadashi, and then you have to follow 4 regulations, and then it was just incredible. And Maharaj was giving beads. It was almost like he was staring into our souls, and he was scanning our life and lifetime, and then when my mother took Diksha before me, and then he gave her name Sri Lakshmi Devi Dasi, and then he gave me Anand Rup Das. And then when he gave that name, and I told everyone, and I was reflecting on it, and then I was like, it's a perfect name, and it couldn't be more right without him knowing me personally. He couldn't be more right in what he's given me, and it's just, I still wonder, like, how does he know me? It just baffles me. It was amazing, really good.
The transcendental position of the spiritual master as you speak, Janme Janme Prabhu say, Divega Hriday Prakashito. Yes. Such a wonderful experience that you have shared with us just confirms that what we are singing daily is not just something that we're singing, but it really means something. That the spiritual master knows you from lifetimes. You don't know how long has it been. And of course, he reveals everything within your heart. And it's not that you have to do everything just physically, and then you shall be getting the realization side. But it's like that he works on a very transcendental level. Such a wonderful experience that you have shared with us, Prabhuji. And what about your second initiation that you have been going through?
But yeah, I mean, that's just me personally. That I always work towards the name. Um, my aim was to then, after the first initiation, my aim was to kind of go towards second as soon as possible, because at that time, I mean, between that time, my first and the second, um, we had a lot of scare that Maharaj was going to leave his body, and there's a lot of turbulence, and I'm not ready to for him to go. I just don't want him to go ever. Although he will be always here looking up our shoulders. We know that, I'm living here 7,000 miles away from him. I know that he's there. He's always watching me. So he's always there. But I guess I don't want him to physically go anywhere, because that day will be the most saddest day on this planet. But anyway, so I knew that I'm working towards it, and I didn't know what I had to do for it almost. And then um, I shared my intentions with Prabhu. I was like, okay, I want to take second initiation. He was like, okay, I'll get all the information that I have, and then everything sort of fall in place. And then 2 years later, again, I reached to Dham with my wife, and then she took her first initiation at that time. When me and my mother again, we took second initiation together. And I mean, always one thing always that stuck to my heart was reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and listening to Prabhupada's lecture and Srila Gurudev's lecture. And in all his lectures, he's always said, read Srimad Bhagavatam, read Srimad Bhagavatam, read Srimad Bhagavatam. And then, I was reading for a while, and I was like, okay, I feel ready. And this is the right opportunity. If anything was to happen to Gurudev, then I don't want to take any other initiation from anyone else but my Guru Maharaj. I want him to give the threads to me, and sort of start my real journey towards Krishna consciousness. And then it was sweet. It was amazing. And then I remember we went into a little room where he was staying, and then there's only a handful of devotees who was taking second initiation. And then he spoke. It was just the most amazing moment. And he spoke, and he explained the mantras and rules and regulations. And I still remember the first thing he said, the rule of being a Brahmana is not to lie. And then he asked around around the room, he was like, okay, you've come here to take initiation. Who has lied this morning? Who has spoken a lie this morning? And luckily, I didn't wake up that early that morning. It was 7 a.m, so I literally woke up at 5:30. Got myself ready, rushed to take the initiation because I was running late. And then anyway, so I didn't speak to that many people that morning. So I didn't keep my hand up. But literally 90% of the room, including his personal servant, is like, yes, Maharaj, you had to tell lie. And I'm like, why you have to lie early morning? It was quite funny. And then Maharaj, he was like, oh Maharaj, everyone's asking about initiation outside. So we had to kind of lie to them that, no, Maharaj is not giving initiation. So he was like, really? So I shouldn't be giving initiation to you then, according to you. So it was amazing. And then Maharaj was like, never speak a lie. Do not lie in any case whatsoever. Even if it means that someone's going to come and kill you, don't lie. And that really inspired me. I was like, in our daily lives, we speak little white lies, or we'll just modify the information. We don't even realize, especially with your wife. I hope she's not listening. But, sometimes you have to twist the information. You don't want to speak straight. So anyway, and then that inspired me to become even better as a devotee, as a person, as a son, as a future husband, and as a brother. And And then, yeah, it just inspired me not to speak lie. And till this day, I try not to, speak, tell a lie or speak lie. Yeah, I'm a material guy. I still do sometime here and there, but I tend to not to, because that was the instruction that was literally given to me by my spiritual master. So yes, I'm obliged to follow that. And then anyway, he told us the rules and regulations, because wearing a thread doesn't just mean that you're a brahmana, but there are a lot of regulations and
Uh-huh.
a lot of rules that you have to follow, and you have to
Uh-huh.
be clean. Yes, absolutely. And then another thing that he told us in that room was swachhta, cleanliness is very important. As a brahmana, you should have at least 2 showers or 3 showers a day, and you have to keep your thread clean at all the times. You have to be clean. I mean, I guess there was a lot of like unsaid sort of responsibilities that came with it, as in like it's your duty to enlighten the world, to have the scriptures, knowledge of the scriptures, and to know the deal. Basically, you can't just, yeah, I'm a brahmana, I don't need to know anything. See, look, you can't be egoistic about it. I still remember the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in front of Lord Jagannath, and he saw. Imagine Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is seeing the Lord, and he said, "Naham Vipro na Janapati, Napi Vaishnava Shuddha." And that verse is just inspiring at all levels. And I make sure that I remember that verse at least 10 times a day. So just to remind myself, I'm no one but the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. So that inspires me and helps me grounded, to keep myself engaged in, just serving everyone, not just devotees, but even non-devotees, because you never know, they might be inclined towards Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
And whenever you get an opportunity, preach and set
Yeah.
an example, kind of thing. So yeah, when you get initiated, especially when you become Brahman initiated devotee, there's a lot of unsaid responsibilities that come with it. Not trying to scare
Mm-hmm.
anyone, but just to make you aware that you should be
Yeah.
mentally ready as well as physically,
Mm-hmm.
because your lifestyle will change fully. You have to be less lazy. You have to be, there's just a kick in your backside that, okay, get up. You can't sleep much, and because there's certain times that you have to chant your given mantras.
Gayatri.
We call
Mm-hmm.
it Gayatri. So you have to chant at specific times, and you have to be very disciplined. And if you're not naturally
Mm-hmm.
disciplined, I wouldn't recommend. But yes, it's a good, in a good, in a positive way. Um, you can still take it. Maybe it'll help you to keep in discipline, I would say. But don't take it if you don't want to be disciplined. Otherwise, it's an
Uh-huh.
offense to your spiritual master. It's
Of
very, very
course.
important to follow those rules as it is, rather than, because then when you have that responsibility, there is no messing about. There is no going, maybe I can chant it 3 minutes later, maybe, yeah, unless you're in a grave, you're driving or something and, you're running late. Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay. But at that, when you have to follow the rules.
Hmm. November 8, 2018 was the day when you got your second initiation, was the day of Govardhan Puja, early
Indeed.
morning, 5
That's
7
when
a.m. That was the
His Grace
transcendental
Arun
day
Charan
when I
Das,
first met
Abhiram
you.
Korare became Arun Charan Das.
Yes, of course, that was the day. I remember that
It was
Guru Maharaj
amazing.
very mercifully gave this name.
It was amazing.
So, for our viewers, His Grace Anand Prabhu is a very simple and a senior disciple, very loving disciple of His
I'm hot.
Holiness Radha Govinda Swami Maharaj, who just out of mercy is also my spiritual master. And yeah, the times that we have had his darshan is really an ecstatic time we always remember. So thank you very much, Anand Prabhu, for sharing this beautiful incidents that you have had. And I would like to just carry on forward that you said that you have to also preach to Krishna consciousness. So, what kind of projects or ideas do you have that you would like to adapt in your devotional life so that you can inspire others to take to Krishna consciousness?
So you want so there's two questions, right? So you asking for my inspiration, or you asking the projects? What do you want me to tell first?
It's all up to you.
All up to me, oh dear. I mean, projects wise, I really want. I mean, here in where I live in Manchester, there is nothing for the youth. So I would.
Okay.
I mean, we're in talks. I'm in talks with some devotee who has similar sort of vision and who inspired me to help him to sort of execute this process, this project. And so hopefully in near future, in maybe 6 months to a year's time, we would like to build up a house or take up a house on lease where we can, especially, it can be a base sort of almost for any youth to come, stay and experience Krishna consciousness in the most subtle way, but at the same time, he can enjoy that Indian culture, and but at the same time, we can preach him, and hopefully prepare him for a devotional life and devotional service. So yeah, that's our project to at the minute that I'm working on in the background, where because then when you come, and I don't know if a lot of people have experienced what West is like, but when you're in Western world, you will miss India. You will miss it big time. You will miss the association. You miss everything, and especially the availability of devotees, in abundance. And but here, it's very scarce. All the facilities that you get in India and big temples, you won't get it here easily. And then at that time, you value everything a lot more. You're like, wow, I'm alone by myself. Everyone's got their own schedules. They're busy in their own lives. No one's got time for anyone. So you have to be very, very careful and very loving towards people who have just landed from India and they're looking for a place to stay. And at that time, you can, they're very vulnerable. Not saying that it's the right time to attack them, but then at that time, you get a lot of realization when you're away from home. You almost become a different person. So at that time, when you give them something higher, something more meaningful in life, and something more, almost a more directive way in their life, at that time they realize the real value of Krishna consciousness, because they're in that a very difficult situation. I guess at that time I was in myself when I came for the first time. Although I was fortunate enough to have a family here, but at the same time, I was still missing my family back in home, back in India, and then my brother was somewhere else, my mother was somewhere else, I was somewhere else. So we were in 3 different parts of the world, and then it was very difficult, for being a younger one in my family. And then I guess at that time you can really inspire them to become a devotee, and give them the love and compassion that Prabhupada has given us, and of course being so patient with all the Westerners. And then at that time we can really inspire them to become devotees, and then feed them prasadam every day. So this is the kind of project that we're working on, where to build a base. And I think His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj is also very kindly opened them kind of 2 centers almost in London, and where people from different backgrounds come and stay, but they have to follow the rules and regulations of ISKCON. And then you just make, not force them to be devotee, but in a very subtle way introduce Krishna consciousness to them, and then eventually they just get inspired from other devotees living around them. So that's the kind of project that we're working on, and so hopefully we might be able to build something up north of England. And I think let's see what happens.
Of all that said, Prabhuji, would like to know, how do you manage your daily routine and daily activities. What is it that you do for your living? What is it that you do in your entire day around? Could you please elaborate that for us?
So yeah, Prabhu, in my work life, I have my own business, a little business that I run, and my business is into logistics and handling a lot of phone calls in the day, and meeting people's demand. And I travel all over the country a lot. One morning I'll be in south, and then all of a sudden I have to come back home, and then there's a lot of traveling, and then my routine and my timings are crazy, almost. And I have to sometimes work for like maybe 14-16 hours. Like yesterday I started at 9 o'clock, and I didn't finish till 10, so that's almost 13 hours of work, and it was non-stop as well. So the only way I keep up on top of my spiritual practices is um, I constantly listen if I have while I'm driving, or I'm doing absolutely nothing. So I can listen to lectures, I can chant, and I can even listen to kirtan. I can do a lot of hearing, and then luckily enough, my colleague is a devotee as well. So Krishna's arrangement, I spend a lot of time discussing scriptures, and taking his association and giving mine wherever possible, and just getting inspired. And like I said before, that association is very important, and um, especially in these times, it's very, very important that you actually speak to someone on the phone, and not get depressed almost. And yeah, and association with devotees always helps to keep you inspired. So this is my work life. This is what I do on everyday basis, and my routine can be waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning and not sleeping till 10 at night. But what keeps me going is my spiritual practices, my bhakti, and again, promises with my Guru Maharaj, and what we owe to Srila Prabhupada, um, and my deities, I would say. My Gauranitai really helps me to keep me honest and promise and sincere in my practices. I look at them, and they just inspire me. And but yeah, this is me about my work life, really. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
That is so wonderful to know. And we will, of course, pray for you that your project also, of course, helps you out in this endeavor, and that you would be able to help all those people who come around you and preach them about Krishna consciousness. And of course, the another point that you said, that yes, Prabhupada has made all of his efforts just because of his compassion over the living entities, so that they may get to know the real purpose of life and move forward with it. I would like to ask you another question, is that why do you think that the youth should accept Krishna consciousness? Why should they take to? Why can't I just take Krishna consciousness a little later in my life? Let's say when I'm settled or when I'm retired. Why should youth in their 20s, probably, or maybe less, why should they come to Krishna consciousness? Shouldn't they enjoy their life more?
Yeah, and what will they get out of it? That's a joke. A good question. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard you talking, Prabhu, is what Prahlad Maharaj tells in his teaching, that it should be Krishna consciousness should be given in the tender age, and you become what you get trained as simple as anything. Yeah. If you are training to become an army person, you start training at very young age. You don't train when you're old. Even there's a cutoff in army as well, right? Between they only accept youth. Why is that? Why don't they accept anyone older than 27? You're old, as simple as anything. Or if you're training to go to university, why don't you go in when you're 80 years old? Get your degree then.
Yeah.
Right. Or I don't know, even when you want to earn money, you join an office, You do it at your young age. You don't join offices when you're 75 years old. So I guess that's what's important. That's the point that I want to make is when you're young, you've got more capacity. Just practically thinking, not from devotee's point of view. Forget ISKCON, forget that I'm a devotee, forget that we're having a spiritual conversation. Just think. Let me make you think. Okay, you're young, you're full of energy, and you're gonna do something meaningful in life, right? And you're gonna. Just imagine that you're a youth with all this knowledge. How powerful would you be, right?
Of course.
You will have all the spiritual knowledge with you, all the knowledge of creation, all the knowledge of self-realization. It's a science, you've got you'll already be so much enlightened, so much ahead of other people. Just think about it. Back in olden days when my mom was in 1970s, 1980s, and at that time we always say, now we always say, oh, people from back in the old days are more powerful. They've got more knowledge, they've got more they've got more of everything, more experiences, and more of those homemade home recipes or remedies for anything. Okay, stop now. Go back, rewind, and think, where did they get all that things from? Science wasn't that evolved at that time. There was less complication in the world, and it wasn't modern. There was no phones. People used to write letters, back in the old days. And how did they get that knowledge from? And when I asked my mom this question, where did you learn all that from? Or she would always say, okay, be a vegetarian, A. B, she would say, okay, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, okay, hang on, where are you getting these ideas from? Then now, when I'm a devotee, she would tell me that, okay, back in the days, people would read scriptures. They would get everything from scriptures. So that means older generations were much more intelligent than we are, because they're still relying on the original authenticated source. So I still remember my grandmother. She's passed now, but she would recite Gajendra Moksha in 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. Imagine that. Who told her to do that? Her parents. So that means the science of God realization is ancient. It's going back way, way, way when we were even planned on this planet Earth. So, that's what we have to really realize, that there's no running around from it. Yeah, you might be modern, you might become advanced, or you might become a tech freak in these day and age. But at the same time, you're isolating yourself more into material ways of living, and you won't be able to learn things. Okay, nowadays there's a trend, on internet where people are like, oh, this is Indian Ayurveda. First of all, Ayurveda is not Indian; it's a Veda. It's Ayurveda. It's a science of medicine, first of all, and that comes from Lord Dhanvantari. And it's not just Indian; it's universal. Anyone can follow it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was followed in India mainly, but the whole world back in the days was just one. Eventually, it spread off. But Bharatavarsha wasn't just Bharatavarsha, what it is now. Yeah. Bharatavarsha was all of it. All of the globe was Bharatavarsha. Yeah. So, in that part of Bharatavarsha, where India is now, it originated because of the weather being perfect and so many other cases, so many other points. But doesn't mean that it's the Indian. So my point is that people want to follow the old scriptures, but in a very subtle way. But my idea and my philosophy is, if you want to learn something, if you want to, why do you want to, float on the surface? Why don't you dive deeper? Why don't you go deeper and see what the real information is that has been imparted? I mean, for me, always it has been the point of, dissecting everything in life and kind of going to the source rather than just sort of, learning things. Oh, I want to learn myself. I want to read into it and then see, where the real knowledge has come from, rather than just, picking up things from the surface, and then there's no point in doing that. So that's why, if you want to learn all these cool things and have all that knowledge and, about creation, I mean, creation has always really attracted me in Krishna consciousness. And then you should read scriptures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. You will be the most intelligent person in your class, in your university. Yeah, people will look at you with odd eyes, but you know deep inside that you are the better one than them because you've had all this knowledge. So I would say Krishna consciousness towards youth, this is the advantage, that you will be subpar from all of the crowd. So everyone wants to be different, right? So follow Krishna consciousness. You will be very different. You'll be the odd one out in your university, in your class, in your lectures. There's also, I don't know, Prabhu, if you agree with me, but there's a general trend. If you follow Krishna consciousness and you are reading scriptures, then generally you become an intelligent person. You'll become very enlightened all of a sudden. Yeah. And I mean, I've realized that, isn't it? I mean, you've kind of realized that yourself. There's a lot of things that you don't actually realize when you're in bhakti, when you're non-devotee. And then the moment you come in bhakti, you start to realize small little things that, oh, hang on, oh, this has happened, or that has happened. Oh, all of a sudden you start to realize, why is, sky color blue? Why is, sun coming in the certain way? And why there is wind in the environment. It's a science. That's why Prabhupada has very kindly said, science of self-realization. And it's not just an ordinary thing. So that's why I think that you should follow Krishna consciousness when you're young, when you're vibrant, when you have got more absorbing power in your brain, like a sponge, and you've got more absorbing power. And, it will help you to live your life better. And don't forget, this is the only thing that will continue in lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Yeah. So when you follow Krishna consciousness, this is the benefit that you get out of it, that it'll never die. So you don't think that, who's seen kya hoga is life ke baad. No, bahut kuch hoga. There will be a lot of things that will happen after. So only thing that'll help you is Krishna consciousness. So my with folded hand and requesting all the youth to take this seriously. And again, Krishna consciousness is not something that should be taken very lightly. And I would recommend it to anyone, especially youth, where they're heading towards, right now. It's just that it doesn't look that good.
That's so wonderfully said, because during the time of Srila Prabhupada also, when, there's our general rule that first of all, we take the offerings that come from the deities, we take to Prabhupada, and then we take to the most senior most person in the room. Yeah. And during the time of Prabhupada, it used to be generally the temple president to whom after Prabhupada the offering used to go to. And that person used to be like 22 years old or 24 years old. And that was the most senior most person in Krishna consciousness at that time. And that's how the entire movement took over, where the youth was the first to lead and youth was the first to accept Krishna consciousness. And that is how this wonderful society has developed. Thank you for pointing that out, Prabhuji. And with this wonderful process that has formed out, is, if there would be, or let's say there is, of course there is, what is that one particular thing that you would like to thank Srila Prabhupada for? That is the unique thing that from your point of view, from your heart, you thank Srila Prabhupada for.
For everything. I mean, I can't pinpoint one particular thing, but literally for everything. Attention to detail, all the books has been flawlessly written by him and translated by wonderful disciples. And I think one thing I would pinpoint that I can be always thankful to him is bring in ISKCON temples or the centers all over the world. If it wasn't for him, then, we wouldn't be Krishna conscious. There wouldn't be no temples in Germany or Manchester or England, anywhere, right? Anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I think the temples, it's like mental sort of hospitals
Absolutely.
that he has opened around the world, reformation centers. So if it wasn't for little Namahattas to centers that he has sort of, started and, bringing deities and bringing Jagannath to the world, to the West, it
Mhm.
was, I think, deities is something that I've always been very attracted to. Maybe
Uh-huh.
being Indian or I don't know. But I guess when you've got this, very beautiful looking, Bhagwan in front of you, very elaborately dressed up with so many, little things to look at, then you don't want to look at anything else. When you go to Bhaktivedanta Manor and you look at Shri Radha Gokul Nandaji and, oh God, you just don't want to move out from there. You just want to live there forever. So I think
Mhm.
that's one thing I would really thank Srila Prabhupada for, is bring in these centers all around the world and bring in deities and bring in Jagannath and bring in Radha Krishna, Gauranitai, Panchatattva to everywhere where people don't know about, where we can go and then obviously take all the knowledge that he's given us.
That is so wonderfully said, Prabhuji. Thank you for that too. And the final question that comes to you is, of all the incarnations that Krishna has manifested and of all the leelas that he has performed, all the pastimes, which one is your favorite one? I would like you to describe it in a little short, if you could, please.
That's unfair. Because you can't choose one. Every teaching has got its own sort of benefits, and
Uh-huh.
all the learnings and the teachings that have been mentioned in scriptures and by our spiritual masters. It's very hard to pinpoint one. Oh, but if I had to pick one, I think it would be definitely the incarnation of Lord Chaitanya, and how mercifully Lord came to the world and gave us the holy name Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare.
and made it easier for us to chant and gave us that freedom to chant it anywhere, not by just particular sect of people or only by brahmanas in a particular place, in a particular muhurta. You can chant anywhere, you can chant however you want. So that freedom that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given is incredible, and it's just life changing, and it's very merciful. So I think the most merciful form is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's that one particular leela that Bhagwan came in and very very mercifully distributed, and and he just delivered so many people and so many miscreants. And that's very close to my heart. And me myself, we have got Gorin Nitai at home, very merciful. So I think that's one leader that I can pinpoint for sure. And then there's so much to learn from Mahaprabhu, and there's so much he lived an exemplary life, and how
Mhm.
he opened, Nitai opened Namahattas everywhere, and how he
Mhm.
inaugurated the Sankirtan, the original
Yeah.
Sankirtan party, going on streets and chanting, and and inspiring people to chant, and begging people to chant, take the name of the Lord. So that is something inspiring and very, very encouraging. And yeah, I think Chaitanya Avatar is something that I can definitely vouch for. Is the most merciful. I mean, yeah, of course there are others, Jagannath form, and
Uh-huh.
then Kapila Dev. There's so much to learn from him, because Kapil Dev didn't come to kill anyone or to deliver anyone. He just came to literally and he didn't come on anyone's request either. He just appeared to deliver his mother and to impart all the teachings of a
Uh-huh.
Grihastha ashram. That's, I think, that one point that Guru Maharaj made in his lectures, that he didn't come on anyone's request. Normally,
Uh-huh.
if you take any example, someone has requested to the Lord to come onto this planet, but it's Kapila Dev who has not actually been requested by anyone. But just Devahuti had his desire to learn, and then Kapila and Kadamba Muni was like, okay, don't worry, this son will help you. So yeah, and then obviously Varadev, Vamana and then they all are very inspiring in their own ways. And then obviously story of Narsingadev and story of Dhruva Maharaj. There's just so many pastimes. There's unlimited pastimes that to mention. But I would say that for our day and age, and what I can relate to, and it didn't happen that long ago, only about 500 years ago. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is our hero. And
Thank
that's
you very
one thing
much
that
for
yes, that's one leela that I always sort of look up to. And obviously, you can read Chaitanya Charitamrita and just just learn so much from it. I remember I was speaking to one of the devotees not long ago, and he was saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke only 8 verses in his lifetime. But the Chaitanya Charitamrita that we read is actually just a commentary of his very close associate. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so it's very inspiring that he has taken such an effort to record everything, just so that we fallen souls can read it and get inspired. So yes, that's it.
Thank you very much, Anand Prabhu, for that wonderful answer that you have given. We would like to thank you also that you have joined us today for this interview, and you have given your valuable time. We would certainly have many people who would definitely take inspiration from you. And of course, I know you personally, but this particular interview would probably help a lot of people to become more and more encouraged and inspired to take to Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much for joining us today, Prabhuji.